All right, the classic countdown. Good. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing fantastic, Nathan. It's nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you too. Yeah, I had a whole month without you because you had a baby and had to leave and all. But it was a sad time in my life.
That was very selfish of me, I know.
Yeah, why don't you pull it together? Think of the team just once. Okay, so today we're going to talk about old GTM playbooks and how that's scaling bloat. I wanted to start really quickly though with something I told my dad recently, where we talked about how I pay my taxes and my new strategy past 3 years of just not paying them. And I told him it's worked so far, so it'll probably just keep working. The idea of this short-term win, but you have these long-term consequences that you can't even really see or predict. And I feel like that's a good metaphor for what we've seen with GTM bloat and the small accrual of inefficiencies over the past 5 to 10 years. I want to talk about how did GTM bloat creep its way into teams in these different areas, just to start there and level set. How did bloat creep its way into go-to-market strategies?
Yeah, so go-to-market bloat and what we're hearing from customers and how they're thinking about it is it takes many forms. But at a high level, Nathan, go-to-market bloat is it's kind of the underperforming investments that companies have made in their go-to-market engine that are delivering underwhelming results. And so companies will think of this as, oh man, we have all these different applications. Are we really getting ROI on all these tools? Or we have all these different specialists across our go-to-market org that are responsible for one little part of the process. Are we getting full ROI on that personnel spend? Or we just created this huge process to go and, publish a new blog post or outbound prospect into somebody, and it's this multi-step thing, but it's really convoluted. Like, is this worth it for us? And so there's all these different areas of go-to-market bloat that have crept in. And I think we can focus today on more of the process orientation, because you mentioned the word playbook, so I assume you want to go that direction.
Yeah.
And this is what I think a lot of companies need to spend some time really rethinking, not just automating, not taking the current playbook and automating it, but really thinking about, is this process optimal for getting the job done, for executing the task, for getting the result? Or is it a bloated relic of how we used to do things yesteryear that really no longer applies given everything that's changing from a landscape or data technology standpoint?
Yeah, this is really what I want to touch on because I see companies talking about how these different AI tools can scale what
Yeah,
they've got going, but what they've got going is so bloated, they're just scaling something super inefficient.
right.
So can you just give me a couple of examples of where you're seeing that across the market?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'll start with a math problem for you, Nathan. Ready? This isn't not it's not going to be like SAT level math, but what's 100 times zero?
That would be hold on. Let me just get
Carry the
that would be
one.
zero. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, now what's 10,000 times zero?
Again, carry that one, and it is zero.
Correct. And unfortunately, this is a way that a lot of teams are thinking about prospecting. Well, I'm running this prospecting playbook. I'm getting less than 1% reply rates. But hey, now AI can come in and can just let me send more emails. That's not the solution. And in fact, it's worse than not being the solution, because what will end up happening is you're just going to end up triggering spam, and you're going to end up having even worse results in this sort of vicious cycle that ends up existing with email clients. And so you can't just take the existing playbook and try and automate it. You have to rework the playbook. And so maybe the right way of thinking about this is, what is possible today that was, if not impossible, very hard to do yesterday? So what does AI unlock for us that can help us create this new playbook? And something that I've been, working with SDR teams and outbound teams and sellers for 10 plus years, and something that I've been hyper focused on for all these years is job descriptions. And why? Why job descriptions? Because they are the best intent signal that nobody else is using. And what is a company hiring for? If you can read job descriptions, synthesize those job descriptions, that allows you to infer what the strategic initiatives are across the entire company. Now, the problem is, if you're a salesperson and you have 100 accounts and every one of those accounts has 10 open job descriptions, you can't go read 1,000 job descriptions. It's impossible to do that. But for AI, it takes seconds to go do that. And so now you've unlocked this whole new data set of job descriptions that need to inform your outbound strategy. So now I need AI to trigger and say, go research all 100 of my accounts, find the open job descriptions, understand what they're hiring for and understand why, infer what their growth strategies are, and connect my value prop to those growth strategies. And now all of a sudden, I have real meat on the bone to inform my messaging so that it's personalized, so that it's relevant, so that it will matter to my recipients, especially to executives. So when I'm executing this outbound strategy that's based on this data foundation, I'm going to increase that 1% reply rate. I'm not going to just 10x my output, the number of emails. I'm going to hopefully 10x my reply rates, the actual outcomes that I'm driving. It's about efficacy, it's about effectiveness. It's not just about volume.
And what I really like is what it sounds like is you automated a tactic of scraping those job descriptions so that you could improve your strategy. But at no point did you outsource the thinking for your strategy, right?
Well, that's just it, Nathan. So some person still has to be the architect of the strategy. What are the data sets that we're going to pull in to inform the foundational understanding we have of accounts? How do we think about the people that we need to sell into? Who are the members of the buying group? What do we say to them? What's the value props that are going to be interesting? And then you can have AI help stitch all of that together, but you can't outsource the strategy. If you outsource the strategy to someone or something, if it's AI, it's not going to work. You're not going to solve your problem. So you need to think about the strategy that you need to reauthor right now with all the new data sets and capabilities that you have. And then you can lean on AI or some sort of agent approach to running that strategy or executing that strategy in a more thoughtful way.
Okay, and I've been seeing this conversation a lot around outbound, but let's speak something closer to my language. Let's go to content creation
Sure.
and some of that. How are you seeing when your time at your former roles at Looker or Clary? How did you see content created? Where was the bloat that you saw accumulate, and how is that changing now?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. And I think what's really interesting about your question, Nathan, is that we moments ago were talking about outbound prospecting. And now in the same breath or a similar breath, we're talking about content strategy and content creation. And why and how are these two things related? Well, companies need to be thinking holistically about their go-to-market AI strategy. It's not just about how is sales doing things and how is CS doing things and how is market. It's how is the entire go-to-market engine operating in association with one another in an intertwined sort of way to maximize the value and to make sure that you're creating a buyer experience or a customer experience that is consistent across all those different people and channels and touch points, et cetera. So go-to-market AI strategies have to be systematically implemented, not siloed and sporadic. So that's just an aside, but it's something important to keep in mind. So
Very,
your actual question,
yeah,
your
yeah,
actual question, I'll take a stab. The old way of let's focus more on thought leadership content.
yeah.
Every company knows that its thought leaders, especially its executives, is an extremely important channel right now. You'll see 10 out of 10 content writers will recommend, or content strategists will recommend, have a LinkedIn presence. Have your CEO actually saying things that are interesting. And how many people, how many CEOs actually do this? Very, very few, maybe 10%, maybe.
Yeah.
And of those people that are actively posting or writing blog posts or newsletters, how many of them are actually writing it themselves? Even fewer. And so the old way of doing things is you can beg your CEO to just give some input, and then he'll or she'll write 3 bullet points. And then you give those 3 bullet points to some junior copywriter who doesn't have subject matter expertise. And they try to write in the voice of the CEO and they fail. And your thought leadership sucks. And then you end up giving up because you're like, oh, this is not useful. It's not moving the needle at all. So now, fast forward to the current way of doing things. Now, the playbook, it doesn't have to require your CEO sitting down and writing for an hour. Now, what it requires is them just turning on a microphone and recording themselves speaking for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Talk about, hey, Mrs. CEO, you met with the, 3 different CEOs last week. What did you talk about? Just answer that prompt and record your transcript for 3 minutes. And then you can have AI run the workflow that says, take this transcript and turn it into a blog post or a series of 4 LinkedIn messages. And you retain the speaker's voice, you get real thought leadership, and you get really accelerated content creation that doesn't take 2, 3, 4 weeks to turn around. It takes seconds to turn around. So a fundamentally different playbook, a fundamentally different way of thinking about things, and a fundamentally different ask to your subject matter experts who you just need to talk into a hot mic for a few minutes and you can unlock this amazing content universe.
Now, one thing that I found interesting as we've been playing with this internally, is it sounds like it would be easy to get lazy, but the fun part is actually in crafting the questions that our audience would find interesting that our thought leaders should be answering. So anyone worried about, what their human role will be, it's been such a blast coming up with those high level questions that I think, wait, how are we going to get our thought leaders excited to answer these?
100%. And the other nice halo effect here, Nathan, is you're getting to spend, you, Nathan, our head of content strategy, are getting to spend time with our executives. You're getting to interview them. You're listening to them. You're hearing how they speak. So now you're developing this language. And now, next time you are authoring your own posts on LinkedIn or you're authoring your own thought leadership posts, your thoughts are going to be imbued with theirs, and it's going to be consistent. And you're sharpening your own pencil in a way that you really didn't have any access to before. So it's a cool way for you to get more exposure to the right people across the company, build your own thoughts and sort of basis for your own thought leadership, and make a bigger impact inside the company.
Shameless networking. That's what I'm doing with our C-suite. Shameless networking. All right, let's wrap this up with just some concrete, practical advice. What would you advise GTM leaders now who want to achieve higher velocity, and how should they specifically start thinking about these new GTM playbooks?
We've mentioned it before, so this will be somewhat of a summary, but it's not just about scale. It's not just about more. It's about efficacy. Is what we're doing actually working? And until you find a strategy that actually gets results, you should not try and scale it. You're going to end up wasting a lot of time, energy, and resources, and you're going to just persist with this go-to-market bloat, these investments that are yielding underperforming results. And so to really eliminate that go-to-market bloat, you've got to go back to first principles on a whole host of things, and getting some sort of understanding of the art of the possible. What data sources are available to us? How can we put AI to work as a business brain that is this kind of neural network connecting all these disparate data sources? And how does that change what's possible from an output standpoint? And that's a really, really important way to think about things that can help you achieve real velocity. But it takes a lot of elbow grease at the jump. Like, you've got to put in the effort to make it happen, or otherwise you're going to end up scaling something that's ineffective.
That's awesome. Okay. Any last tips or tricks for people, or feeling good?
I think that's it.
All right.
Just be really thoughtful about how to do things differently, and don't be obsessed with just automation for the sake of automation. And if you can do those two things and really be thoughtful, and it's not to say that you, as the chief revenue officer, have to go and architect all of these things, but you need to empower your lieutenants to go and think differently about how to get their work done, and ensure that they're looking into all of the new ways of doing things. And don't sleep on AI. Don't wait for the legacy vendors to have some solution that gets you a quarter of the way there. You've got to lean in, and you've got to make sure that, again, your go-to-market AI strategy is systematically implemented across your whole team. Otherwise, you're going to get underwhelming results.
Thank you so much. And just like that, we captured a little bit more of your brain as I build the Kyle bot.
Pleasure doing business with you, Nathan.
Thanks so much, Kyle. Have an awesome day.
See ya.